St. Catherine scammer caught in St. Elizabeth. Man got shot on construction site. Women fight at football game, and Montego Bay United won but did not make it into the top six. This is Undiluted News. Mikey Bones reporting. 4 of 5 men arrested on Friday during operation in St. Elizabeth in response to allegations of child abuse at the Atlantis Leadership Academy in Treasure Beach have been charged. They are 39-year-old Edison Morris, 51-year-old Courtney Wigan, 30-year-old O'Dane Maxwell, and Carson Cox, 33. The men have been charged with assault occasioning bodily harm, cruelty to a child, and assault at common law. The fifth suspect is to be placed on an identification parade, and all of them are members of staff at the facility, which advertises itself as a faith-based school serving teens struggling with substance abuse, anxiety disorder, and deviant behavior. On February 8, 8 American teenagers who were residents of Atlantis Leadership Academy were removed by the Child Protection and Family Service Agency after signs of abuse and neglect were observed during an announced visit. One of the boys, who recently turned 18, returned to the United States since he has now become an adult. The remaining boys have been placed in residential child care facilities in other parts of Jamaica, while the matter is still in court. Meanwhile, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution is reminding the public, particularly gun crime offenders, that they can earn a sentence less than the minimum mandatory of 15 to 20 years if they assist the police in a meaningful way. Andrea Martin Swaby, Senior Deputy Director of Prosecutions, issued the reminder at the start of the Home Circuit Court Easter term last Wednesday. The senior prosecutor stated that despite the fact that a crucial clause was included on the new Firearms Act in November of 2022, the public is often unaware of it. And since the legislation passage, the gun court has received few guilty pleas. Ms. Martin Swaby stated that under the statute, sentence can be reduced below the required minimum if law enforcement is supported. This is meaning if you become an informer, which is like a death sentence in Jamaica. A St. Catherine man who was arrested and charged during a police operation in St. Elizabeth has been charged with lottery scamming. Cadron Rose, an aluminum molder of Linstead in St. Catherine, was driving along the Oxford Main Road when he was signaled to stop, and during a search of his motor vehicle, the police found personal information of persons living overseas. The 45-year-old suspect was transported to the Black River Police Station and then further questioned. He was unable to account for the information he had in his possession. A St. Elizabeth woman and her mother have been charged in relation to the killing of her spouse on Monday last in Roses Valley. Reports indicate that about 2:45 a.m., Horace Vassell and his spouse, 24-year-old Amanda Stewart, were involved in a domestic dispute which became physical. Miss Stewart's mother, 43-year-old Lisa Patricia Muir, she joined in the fight. Mr. Vassell was chopped several times with a machete, and the police were alerted, and Mr. Vassell was transported to the Mandeville Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries, and both women were taken into custody and later charged after being questioned. A man was hospitalized with bullet wounds on Friday morning after he was attacked and shot at a construction site in Montego Bay in St. James. Investigators said about 10 a.m., the victim, a construction worker of a Hanover address, was carrying out work on Queens Drive when he was attacked by two armed men. He was shot multiple times by the hoodlums. He was rushed to hospital by other workers on the site, and the police are now trying to establish a motive for that attack. A biker was shot and killed, and a 13-year-old boy shot and injured by unknown assailants on the Salt Spring Main Road in Hanover on Saturday night. The deceased has been identified as 19-year-old Keith Myrie, otherwise called Junior, of Green Island in the parish. Reports from the Green Island police are that about 8:38 in the evening, Myrie was driving a motorcycle along the roadway with a teenager as the pillion when a group of motorcyclists drove up and opened gunfire at him. Myrie lost control of the motorcycle, which then collided into a fence. Myrie and the teen were found suffering from gunshot wounds. They were taken to hospital where Myrie was pronounced dead and the teenage boy treated and admitted in a stable condition. The Green Island police are now investigating that crime. Westmoreland, as usual, have to be in the mix. They will never be left out. A woman is dead and her male companion injured after gunmen opened fire at them as they traveled on a motorcycle in Brighton, Little London in Westmoreland Saturday night as well. She has been identified as 44-year-old Michelle Bremer Reed from the community. Reports from the police are that Reed and the now injured man were sitting on his veranda as they engaged in a conversation. Shortly after Reed and the man got onto his blue motorcycle, an unknown assailant emerged from behind the wall of the front gate and then opened gunfire, hitting both victims. According to the police, the gunman later escaped on foot. After the shooting subsided, Reed was found lying face down with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the back of her head, and her friend was shot in his stomach. The victims were taken to the Savlamar Public General Hospital, where Reed was pronounced dead and the man admitted in a stable condition, and investigations are now ongoing. Onto sports, watching my first female Premier League game did not turn out as expected, as a massive brawl ended the game between Arnett Gardens and Cavalier at the Anthony Spalding Sports Complex. Cavalier prevailed 2-0 in the encounter, where Arnett suffered their first defeat of the season. And the brawl started between Cavaliers goalkeeper Daniel Flake and Arnett Gardens Chanel Spence in minute 93 with only seconds to go. Spence, it seems, going for a ball, flashed her hand and hit Cavaliers goalkeeper Flake in the face, and Flake retaliated by throwing a right cross punch to the face of Spence. Spence hit back but was punched again and fell, and was then kicked by Flake while on the ground. With other players now joining in, with the game turning into a brawl after being joined by other players punching and kicking each other. One burly Arnett Gardens female, who seems to be either a spectator or the reserve goalkeeper, put on some real right and left jab to the Cavaliers goalkeeper, but was quickly pulled away. It was an ugly scene, and both players were ejected, and the JFF disciplinary committee is now expected to investigate the matter in the coming days. Meanwhile, in Premier League, in the final playoff spot to get into the top 6, Montego Bay United beat Tivoli Gardens 2-1 to get 3 points and move into 6th place and displace Waterhouse briefly just for a few hours, until in the later game Waterhouse beat Harborview 1-0 to move back into 6th place with 43 points, and with a better goal average qualified join Mount Pleasant, Cavaliers, Tivoli, Portmore and Arnett Gardens. Results from yesterday now shows Cavaliers beating Mullines United 6-0, Dunbeholden beating Vere United 4-2, Montego Bay beating Tivoli 2-1, Mount Pleasant beating Limehall 2-1, Portmore were 2-0 winners over Humber Lions, Arnett Gardens beating Treasure Beach 4-1, while Waterhouse beat Harborview 1-0. And if you missed the news on this radio station, please go to YouTube, type in Jamerican Undiluted News, listen, like, share, and subscribe to keep it going. That's news and sports on your favorite radio. My name is Mikey Bones. Have a wonderful day. I'm gone.